Leaders must be aligned with collective purpose and must be judged by their ability to make social change. Again, we will associate it with the Prophet and we say, of course he had it. But this is not coming from the Prophet's life. This is coming from present scientists, political scientists who have gone into books and have come up with leadership qualities, right? It is for us to see that it is matching perfectly with that of a prophet. Next. When you look at a faith-based system, everything actually promotes transformational leadership, right? You have accountability, you have purpose, you have transparency, you have trust, justice, compassion, responsibility, service. So why is our society not showing this kind of change in society, right? Yes. And perhaps this is the question that comes to us. That could a critical pedagogy of an international system, enhanced with faith values of a faith-based system, develop transformational leadership potential in our children? So as a school, if we understand this, can we cater and can we nurture this leadership potential in our children? Can we identify it? And can all schools, kind of go towards these qualities rather than diverting themselves into other areas, right? Next. Okay, we'll quickly go through this. This is all there in the material that is given to you. So what we did was a lot of literature review, and we found what are the factors that lead to transformational leadership emergence. And you're talking about leadership later, but how do you identify it in a school, right? So there was a lot of literature on it, and we, the summary of it goes like this: that what leads to it is challenging experiences, adolescent self-worth, socialization, a confident, positive, extroverted personality type, right? So a lot is dependent on EQ, childhood experiences, family support, and schooling. So this is what we need to give our children, wherever they are, whether they are in a big school or whether they are in a not so big school, whether they are in an underprivileged school or an international school. What we need to give them is this, which does not cost money. It does not cost money, but it gives results which we all want for all our children. And it was ironical, because that is what studies do, is that we say parental support is important, but even without parental support, because of challenging situations, it produced transformational leaders. Like our prophet, he is an example of the same, right? So we get to know all the traits that come out of it. Next. These are the formative factors, that is attachment factors, spiritual factors, critical thinking. All these are the factors which would lead to TLE. Okay, go next. Next. These are the traits. So if you want to identify if a child is going to be a transformational leader, you see extrovertedness, you will see that he is self-driven, he's an inquisitive person, right? And he challenges status quo, he doesn't accept just the way we are. He wants to change situations. These are things which we can identify in our children and know that they are going the right way. That what we are doing for them is working. Right? Next. So the purpose of the study was to measure with a criteria deduced adolescent leadership among the students and alumni of the faith-based school and the impact of this unique schooling experience on leadership thinking. So I took up the students that were in the grade 9, 10, who had just passed out of school, and I did a survey with them. Yeah, next. And of course, as surveys go, we have to form research questions. So my question was, do adolescents of this faith school, and it can be any school for that matter, show potential for transformational leadership? And what is the role, if any, played by the critical thinking pedagogy and faith values of the school as perceived by the alumni? And this was an instrumental case study, and it has an external context, which, while the case itself is secondary, it is not important whether it was at Oasis, or it was a Wisdom, or it was any other school. it is secondary. The external context in this case is secondary. The primary, the pedagogy proposed is antithetical to the traditional Muslim school pedagogy and yet paradoxically in line with Islamic prophetic pedagogy, alluding to Stake's explanation of a case study model having a complex and broader implication than what is apparent. It looks like a simple case study, but basically the context of it is something which is more general. It is not related to the school itself. It is, the phenomenon is bigger and it applies to the whole of Muslim world. So as it goes, you need a hypothesis for it. And the hypothesis was that the strong self-identity, transformational leadership values, that is, the values that we discussed initially, and extroversion traits are evident in the student leaders and the alumni acknowledge the impact of faith schools, of the schooling that they have got on their, on their thinking skills. Okay, so this was the concept map that had to come up for the same. All right, this is what we gave: faith, higher order thinking, and prophetic teachings, building their identity, their values, and their extroversion, and finally leading to leadership emergence. If this everything is happening, then we will see leadership skills in the children. Okay, and this is what came out of the study from the children that we interviewed. Okay, we interviewed through discussions, through focus interviews, one-to-one interviews, and we saw that the children are definitely conscious of the hereafter, and it is spoken in a very matter-of-fact way, which is not seen in other children. Our children will be talking about the akhirah as if it is so alive. Second, good object experience, a sense of pride in being associated with an institution which is faith-based. They were not apologetic being part of this institution. They had what you call life instinct, the need to contribute towards keeping the faith alive and authentic for future generations. They wanted to do dawah. Some of the children told that they did dawah in the auto. They gave the Quran to somebody who was feeling very depressed and things like that. Then confidence to engage in dialogue and to contribute. When they told us that when they went for their matches and football matches, they would want people to ask them questions. Why are the girls, why are you wearing the hijab and playing football matches? Why can't you remove it? Aren't you feeling hot? And they would be very proud to talk about it. They wouldn't be shy and say, no, we have to do it and things like that. They didn't mind that they were called regressive, they were called terrorists, they were called all kinds of things. They didn't mind that. Then Prophet as role model, they all said that they took the Prophet as their role model, and and some of them said their parents too. And then the drive to participate, compete, and excel in inter-school events. They had this desire to show people that we can be better than them in their own schools. So they went to schools like Vidyashilp or whichever, and they very proudly beat them, and beat them mostly at fair play and discipline. That was pretty nice. Then gratitude and attachment to teaching staff. They all said that they were their success is linked to the teaching staff that is there. They didn't find, the alumni didn't find the same thing when they went to college. And of course their identity was really strong. So these were 8 things. We didn't go after asking them, but these are the things that came out. Next. Now, I want to be very fair that this, definitely I looked at it as a valid hypothesis and it was everything going right. But these are the things that could have been possible which made my hypothesis valid. That means I saw transformational leadership potential, I saw identity, I saw them feeling very belonging to the school. But it could be because our school was yet very young. It was a new concept. Because there was a heightened inferiority complex. What the Sachar Committee report says that Muslims have a feeling that they are not given their rights, right? They have a low self-esteem, so it could be because of that. It could be because the classes are small now, and we have greater pastoral care. Vision and mission is very new and alive, and they are constantly in touch with the founders. So these could be the reasons why my hypothesis was valid. So I won't say that, you know, we are doing everything right. But in this, really, which probably I would be happy with this study and it would have ended, but I did this 2 years back. And as and when I have presented this paper, I have discovered more meaning to it. And really what is significant and why I thought it would be good to present it today here is that now when we started Oasis, we thought that as soon as it becomes a mainstream school, this is where we want to be. So when we started, our biggest goal was to become a mainstream school. And it seemed like a dream that time, and we were very often mocked for even thinking about it. You know, your school, an Islamic school, how would you become mainstream? But it happened quite miraculously, and when we were ranked in the education magazine as 33rd, we knew, okay, we are there. Next was when our first batch passed out, the IGCSE exam. And again we said, okay, we are there. And we are there with all the others, the Vidyaniketans and the Legacies and all the other international schools, we were one among them. So we were being ranked, being evaluated on the basis of the same criteria. Our success criteria has somehow, and here is the important part, has somehow become theirs. The other schools, their criteria of success, that is winning, exams, everything has become our criteria. And yeah, we're almost done. Therefore, loads of them in the US too also, we started looking at success as just getting through or doing very well in the exams. And their shortcomings and their grievances, their teacher problems become our teacher problems. You know, we have the same issues, we think. And we somehow feel part of that family. And herein lies the danger. The purpose of mainstream schools to feed students into the market, consumer-driven society as an end in itself can quite by default become ours too. We are probably getting into the danger of making our schools also competitive, individualistic, and ready for, and just after the market economy, right? Because we have suddenly started associating and, you know, kind of evaluating ourselves by the same criteria, right? And standardized curriculum, standardized testing, managerial-like administrations, and avoidance of the range of substantive social justice issues in schools disallows the nurturing of socially active, ethically aware, compassionate, transformative human beings that we were meant to be. Desire to grow, corporatarize with business values, values of individual consumerism, supersede concerns of social justice, and our schools reproduce dominant values without even knowing it. So we are getting into the culture where we are becoming just like all the other commercial schools. We can. And this is not only about Oasis again, it's about all schools which are of the same breed. And there are many, many more like this in the West than are here. But we are all in the same process. We will get there. Academic and syllabi are more important than co-curricular personality development initiatives. In fact, some researchers have gone as far to criticize this model, and Ken Robinson and people like that say schooling kills creativity. So are we also of the same brand? It's something that we really need to think about. But the danger is there, stark and staring. Unless we understand our own values, our roots, develop measures to identify them and evaluate our success and failure based. So here, just for the last slide. We are unable to measure the unmeasurables, like the degree of humility, reverence, student approaches, other learning, whether the students are in society showcasing the skills that we want them to go to. Right? Yeah. Just read this one. Now, this is the last slide, and I'll leave you with it to think. Can the characteristic values of leadership that we saw, the legacy of our Prophet, be the common goals and identity for Muslim schools? Can we all chase those values rather than going after our identity, whether the child can read that much Quran, whether he has completed hifz, whether he has done that, those are important. But these can we all, as Muslim institutions, go after values which belonged to our legacy, the Prophet. Right? Can the traits be significant rubric in providing us to evaluate ourselves? Do we have any rubric to evaluate our schools? All schools have their own markers. Can we all have a common marker, which will be this? And can Muslim schools' products truly be of value and an asset to the society and be the change makers that they were always meant to be? So these are the questions to mull over and see if this could be helpful in our roadmap somewhere. Just for the last slide. Jazakallah. Progress, as Martin Luther says, is not a forward motion, but back towards the roots. And an Islamic pedagogy based on personal transformation has much more to offer contemporary educational practices. And we need to learn to give much as we have learned to take.
Thank you, Ms. Ambapuram. It was a pleasant presentation. Actually, in our seminar, we have more than half of the paper presenters being women, which is a good sign, which is also a sign of empowerment, women empowerment. So, in that terms, we want our women, to go back home a little early. So we are trying to, conclude their presentation at the earliest, and then later on maybe we can have our men presenters, come here and talk broadly and maybe take out more time. So since this is the reason, we are completing all the women presenters to present their papers. Right now we will go ahead with one more women presenter. That would be Miss Professor Nishad, HOD Sociology, Abbas Khan College. She had been doing a lot of social service. She had been helping educating students who were not able to get through their exams, and she has done so many social works which talks about education and empowerment of students. So I would like to call upon Miss Professor Nishad to come and present the paper. That would be and educating community, educating individuals and educating community. Ms. Professor Nisha.
This is my first experience of having a presentation in front of the people of the community, and most of the audience is the well-experienced elderly whom I know since long. They are all experienced persons. I'm feeling very young before them. I don't know. Whatever that I have put before you, I'm going to put before you, is all my own experiences, my thoughts, except a few quotations from Quran and a few quotes from the actual things that are going on by some of the foundations and opinions of some of the people there. And all of those things, whatever I have mentioned here, is all focused upon what I'm really doing. These are the things that go to the second one. I start with this. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, मुसलमानों को चाहिए कि एक दूसरे की इस्लाह हमदर्दी में सब आपस में आज़ाए जिस्म की तरह हो जाएं कि एक अज़ू को तकलीफ होती है तो सारा जिस्म बेदार और बेकरार रहता है. This is the kind of solidarity we need in the individuals and the community. What is it that is happening in us? We all, once we get elevated, we are all feeling segregated. But aside from the community, we are not having any belongingness, sense of belongingness. Once we elevate, once we get educated, we are becoming selfish, self-centered. So I quoted this to highlight that how Prophet Muhammad has highlighted the need of solidarity in the community for progress, development, peace, sustainability, advancement, whatnot. Third slide. Education is to know man and to make man. How much we know man? Do we know our neighbor? Do we know our friends fully? We all have become formal. We all have become just having our own self-interest. We talk to people. When we have some desires, we want to have some interaction. Otherwise, they are strangers. Once our work is over, we are nobody for us. We, in front of those people who help us, we will be wandering around without recognizing them. This is what that has happened in the younger generation also. They study here with us as teachers. We teach them as our own children for years together. When they see us, they never recognize. They never look at us. So this is what I want to highlight in this aspect. So education is the only tool for changing individuals and the society. Educational enrichment contributes immensely to develop the community. Developing education means achieving economic status, social status, cultural modifications, opportunity for equalization, and unity in all aspects. Hence, education has a greater role to play in the transformation of individuals and the communities at large. The word education needs to be used to cover the entire process of bringing up the next generation. We need to determine the kind of individuals we produce, what kind of individuals we are producing. We being educated parents, many of us have not socialized our children in a proper way. We have given them full freedom. We have not given them the right values. We have not given the Islamic values. How many of our families we find children having no values at all, but they are educated? Slide. Education and